This is New Amsterdam Season 5, Episode 8, discussion/review, titled All the World's a Stage. And I gotta say, there was a lot of acting going on. Let's talk about it.
Live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I go by at night, I be in my feelings, I'm a big fight.
It feels so good to be back. I know I am all kinds of late when it comes to New Amsterdam, but I have two channels that I manage and I'm so far behind on both of them. Catching up has been a time, but I am here, man, and I am doing all of the remaining episodes to catch up for the season finale. But I gotta say, this episode, it was good. It wasn't great, but it was good. There was a lot of stuff going on with the series, in my opinion, especially since it's ending, and we know that it's ending. It's like we got a lot of the stuff going on with our main characters, and some of that is just kind of pulling back, and we're just focusing on the show as a whole. And I feel like this was another one of those episodes, in my opinion. Like, we focused a lot more on the stuff that was going on throughout the entire episode instead of our main characters, like we most of the time do with New Amsterdam. And that's not a bad thing, because we pretty much know about their lives now, so it's rounding out. So we're just going to get tidbits here and there as we start to close out. And that's not a bad thing to have, because we see this episode with Iggy, he's still doing the powerlifting and the weightlifting stuff, and it's starting to make him feel good about himself. It's making him feel better. But Iggy, for you to be the kind of person that you are, to go through all the stuff that you've been through, to come kind of overcome that whole sensation with Martin and everything, you feeling like him belittling you and everything, you are really dependent on how people perceive you. I mean, I get it. I mean, a lot of people need validation, but you are leaning very heavy on how people perceive you. Like, 'cause you just want people to know that there's something new going on in your life, that there's a difference in you. And that was one of the parts in this episode that we were dealing with, along with the entire episode, not solely focusing on our main characters. And at the ending of the episode, Martin finally noticed, but it was after his whole ordeal dealing with Solomon, the janitor, that's also a psychic. You know what I'm saying? So big ups to Solomon. He got a upgrade in his job. He started out as a janitor. Now he's working with holistic medicine. So you do you, Solomon. But it was nice for Solomon to help Iggy in that predicament. You know what I'm saying? Because Iggy was going through some stuff, we know, yet again, but he really didn't believe Solomon. He was trying to find this whole medical, and some things just can't be explained, man. Some people fail to realize that, and you just can't explain everything, man. A good common miracle from faith, you know what I'm saying? You just got to reach out on it and believe it, man. You can't explain everything with science. That's what makes a miracle a freaking miracle. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, he gave Iggy some vital information that, Iggy had no choice to accept, because there was no way that this dude could actually know this information about his brother and their little signs or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So there was no way he actually knew that. But in the end, it kind of helped Iggy, and it got Solomon to upgrade his job. We see Bloom at the start of this episode dealing with her sobriety yet again. She's in AA. What is it? AA? Not Alcoholics though. Anyway, she's in some kind of anonymous group, dealing with her sobriety or whatnot. And we hear her talking about it and saying that her sister was her new addiction and everything. And it's nice that she got to the point to where she could admit that and kind of distance herself from her sister. But then we have this episode where the case takes place with these beauty pageant girls falling off the stage and all of them being hurt and injured, and this one mother giving her daughter drugs. And that kind of related to Bloom and her mother in that whole scenario. And you could tell how it kind of affected Bloom. She was kind of pushing her thoughts and how her feelings towards her mother, towards this lady and her daughter. And at the ending of the episode, she had to come and apologize, but not so much, because I do agree with Bloom 100%. There's no way, if I was a parent, I'm not giving my kids drugs, and I'm not doing drugs with my kid. Now, I would hate for them to do drugs, period. But they gonna have to go out there and get it on their own and score some stuff or do something. I mean, because there's no way let me get a handful of drugs for my kid, or let me go get some weed for me and my kid to just, we're gonna light up a blunt together. No, man, that is not cool, dude. I mean, it sucks. You like Bloom said, you should mention her, mention to her about wanting to not do drugs. That should be y'all hobby or whatnot. Because I know raising a kid in today's society could possibly be a little bit hard. You know what I'm saying? There's so much going on, and there's so much you can and can't say. People are fear of being canceled or anything like that. So you do kind of navigate things a certain way. Now everybody don't, because I'm one of those people, man. Hey, I'm just me, and I'm gonna keep it 100. But some people do want to navigate it and everything. Now I'm not gonna go out my way and say something rude to somebody. I don't care what the lifestyle is, because being rude is just being rude. But there's a big difference in being rude and intentionally being rude. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, that's a whole different story. But we see Bloom apologize to the lady, and she kind of just, I don't want to say set her straight, but she kind of gives her opinion, because in the beginning of it, she was ready to call Child Protective Services and just have her daughter ripped from her and everything. But one thing that stuck out to me in this entire episode is I feel like Bloom could have got to that girl before she fell off the car and walked into traffic. I feel like Bloom was just down there tiptoeing, trying to get up to the car. Oh, girl, she in her own little word. You could have rushed up the top of the car and got to her before she walked off into traffic. But that's just my opinion. Now, we have a lot of girls this episode that's from the beauty pageant, and they're all hurt because the stage collapsed. And we find out that some of them, are pertinent to this episode, because the one chick, we find out that she had cancer, and Wilder thought it was her having an eating disorder, and that wasn't the case. Wilder kind of threw her prejudices on this girl, and that was a lot about this episode. People kind of throwing their own prejudice into these people in the beauty pageant and other people and everything. And I feel like that was the kind of whole overall consensus of the episode. But at the end of the day, Wilder had to go back and apologize to her. And I feel like if you get something wrong in the beginning, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's huge admitting your mistake and apologizing. You know what I'm saying? Because at the ending of the episode, we see Floyd going there to stand up for his father, because the judge was not going to release him on his own recognizance. And Floyd decided to take him in and help him, as his son, hey, he does have somewhere to stay. He can come stay with me. And we know how his father felt about Floyd sending him in there to the psych ward. But, at the end of the day, he wants to be free, so he's going to have to listen to what Floyd say, and he took Floyd up on the offer. Now, Max, this episode is a little different for me, man. You guys know how I feel about Max. I loved Max, but I feel like in season 5, they really just don't know what to do with Ryan Eggo's character, because Max is all over the place in season 5, in my opinion, man. Maybe because of the whole stuff that's going on with Sharp, it kind of messed him up a little bit. But at the end of the day, we know it's the writer's fault, you know what I'm saying? But like, they are all over the place with Max, man, and it's messing me up nonetheless. Max is trying to figure out stuff that's not working. He's trying to force a relationship with Wilder after they just instinctively decided to be friends. And you're like, hey, you want to go out on a date? And I'm glad she told him no. Now, we didn't want it together anyway. I mean, I like both of them, and maybe, possibly, probably, if they would have ended up in a relationship, I probably would have been okay with it. But I'm just saying, I didn't want it to happen. So I'm glad she told him no, and he's sitting there at the end of the table like, oh man, what happened? The lady told you that you were going to be friends from the jump anyway, Max. But we see Max kind of sticking his nose into something. Now, the whole ordeal with the bequest part of the episode, that guy being there for that dude's mother and him wanting his mom's house back, I get all of that. And I was a little against it at first, because I was like, I know that man didn't play on this little old lady. Like, I felt some type of way at first, you know what I'm saying? But after I got the whole ordeal and understood the whole consensus of the story, I was like, oh, okay, well, he was there. He was helping her, you know what I'm saying, in her last moments, in her last days. And we learned that the son couldn't be there because of whole military ordeal, so he couldn't be there, and that's totally fine. The bequest agent was there to help her with all this stuff, gave her some fun in her last days, and she gave them the house. And then at the ending of the episode, we learn that she gave them the house, and the proceeds from the sale of the house goes to New Amsterdam's Wounded Warrior Vet Project. And I feel like that's absolutely great, because in her last days, she was constantly thinking about her son. And, the guy, sure, he could have just told them that right off rip, but, it built a little bit more intense to the story, because he kept it all the way to the ending of the episode. And then we have the lady that was, over the overall of the pageant, and it's sad that she had her heart punctured, so she's inevitably gonna die if she doesn't get a new heart. And they kind of left that open-ended with the episode ending, so we don't know, will she get a heart or won't she get a heart? But she's totally fine if she doesn't, because she spent her whole life uplifting kids and helping people. And if a kid needs the heart before she does, she's totally fine with letting herself pass on. And helping a kid that needs that heart. And at the ending of the episode, we see her, yet again, uplifting people in the hospital from the staff. And I feel like that was a great part of the episode for me, because we get to see her, be the mother hen to the kids in the pageant, but then she also done the same thing to the staff at the hospital. Overall, it was a great episode, and I feel great coming back. I feel like I'm a little rusty. I feel like I'm talking way too long in this review, but it just feels great to be back. And I'm going to go dive into episode 9, I want to say. This is really incredible. Don't forget to smash the like button until you can't smash any more. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them, and subscribe. Peace out.